Hello everyone, this is the Storyteller and today we are talking about Arrival, starring Amy Adams, Jeremy Renner and Forest Whitaker, directed by Denis Villeneuve. Now, this movie came out in 2016 November and it was made on a budget of 47 million, so we can assume that its total budget probably had been at least 70-80 million, and it made around 100 million on domestic chart and 102 million on foreign chart. So yeah, it was a pretty successful movie, Arrival. But there is a problem about Arrival. People think that Arrival is a sci-fi movie. No, actually, I would say that it's not a sci-fi movie. It is a science fantasy movie. It is a science fantasy movie, and it is more about emotions and drama than actual science fiction. But don't take my word for it. We'll go through a few articles here. We'll first go to Metacritic, and there are a lot of people on Metacritic who actually say some good, or should I say, bad things about the movie. One guy gives it 25. It means 2.5 out of 10. He says, Enemy and Sicario were unspeakable disasters. And Arrival, the director's latest, means Denis Villeneuve's latest exercise in pretentious poopery, gives me every reason to believe I have parted company with this guy. Miami Herald says the best science fiction leaves us with questions and ideas to ponder. Arrival is the sort of superficially profound movie that initially seems deep and weighty, but stops making sense the moment you put your bong down. Only if you are smoking weed can you say that this movie is really great. Obviously, I've said lots of movies that are being given 90%, 94% ever since 2010. Ever since 2010, something went wrong in the Hollywood criticism business, and ever since then I'm seeing 90% plus ratings given to films that are not actually deep enough, and that's the problem with this film as well. We can go to now Roger Ebert's side. Roger Ebert died in 2013, I think. This movie came out in 2016. So, however, somebody has made a review about it, written by Brian Tallarico. He writes, much has been written about the recent surge of personal stories about being told through the horror genre in films like It Follows, The Witch, and The Babadook. But there's an equally interesting trend in the science fiction genre as well. Over the last few years, we have seen the genre used not only to examine the power of space travel or a post-apocalyptic future, but as a way to address a common humanity more than futuristic adventure stories. Joining films like Gravity, Interstellar, and The Martian is Denis Villeneuve's ambitious and moving Arrival, a movie that's about the day the universe changed forever but becomes more focused on a single story even as it's expanding its worldwide narrative. It is more about grief, time, communication and compassion than it is about warp speed, and it's film that asks questions. Like I said, it is more about grief, time, communication, and compassion, and not about warp speed. The thing is, it is not a science fiction movie. It never was. It has a science fiction background. When you put a science fiction thing in a background and make the whole story about your emotions and all the non-compose, then you are basically making a science fantasy or something like that, or maybe you're making a drama or a soap opera with just science fiction being in the background. So yeah, you can say it's sci-fi, but it's not science fiction. There's a little bit difference between sci-fi and science fiction. Sci-fi is a story where science fiction elements are in the background and everything is about the characters. But actual science fiction, in real science fiction, It is about science. It is about reality. It is about checking the human condition and making actual, real, important points about it. That is real science fiction. Let's continue on this. How do we approach that which terrifies us? Why is it important to communicate through language and not action? The final act of arrival gets to the big ideas of life that I won't spoil here, but viewers should know that Villeneuve's film is not the crowd pleaser of The Martian, Ridley Scott's big TIFF premiere last year. It's a movie designed to simultaneously challenge viewers, move them, and get them talking, but the most part it succeeds. For the most part, it succeeds. Amy Adams gives a confident, affecting performance as Louise, a linguistics expert brought in on the day that 12 unidentified flying objects enter Earth's orbit. Despite what they're telling in the public, which is not much of anything at first, the governments of the world have made first contact with the creatures inside, beings that look vaguely like some higher power merged an octopus with a giant hand. Now, here's the problem about the octopus thingy. The octopus-like creatures resemble a Cthulhu. Cthulhu is some horror genre creature. I'm not very conversed in that horror genre, but a lot of other people have talked about this, and they have criticized the movie Arrival, about the fact that it is not very original in its take of this creature. Let's continue on this. Working with the military and scientist named Ian, Louis seeks to find the answer to a very simple question. What do you want? The heptapods, as they are eventually called, speak in sounds that echo whale noises at times. But Louise quickly learns that written language is the way to communicate. Even deciphering the complex way the interstellar tourists write, as she gets closer and closer to being able to convey that crucial question in a way that its answer will be understood. The world's uneasiness continues. Will man's protective instinct kick in before its science and language leaders can figure out a way to stop it? So there's a lot of international debacle that happens in the film. Louise also has darkness in her life. The opening scenes detail the birth, grief, life, and death of a child. Throughout, Adams imbues Louise with a quiet, effective, emotional undercurrent that's essential to the film's success. This is a movie that gets too sterile at times, but Adams is always there to ground it. Of course, the movie is very silent. It's silent to make it serious, which is why I would say that I would give it like a 7 or 8 out of 10, but not nearly 9 by 10, because it has no originality and it's not a true science fiction movie. It is more about the drama. It is more about the soap opera that has been created, but it is giving. It has been given a science fiction category. It's just stupendous, idiotic. I think Villeneuve's vision is not particularly CGI heavy, allowing Adams to work in a way that feels relatable. There's so much going on in this character's mind and heart, especially in the twisty final act, with which Adams could have gone big, but it's actually one of the more subtle and internal sci-fi movie performance that I've ever seen, and it's a testament to the success of Arrival that it's her face, not the impressive alien ship creature design that people will remember. Of course, like I said, there is no actual creativity in the alien itself. As he has recently, understands the importance of surrounding himself with talented people. In this case, two of the film's undeniable MVPs are cinematographer Bradford Young, the genius who shot Selma and A Most Violent Year, and composer Johann Johansson, Means Johansson's compositions here are essential to every emotional beat of the film. Yes, it had a very great score, defining the air of tension in the first half of the film and the moving undercurrents of the final act. Young's approach is beautifully tactile, meaning the cinematographer. Young's approach is beautifully tactile, using the natural world to make this unnatural story genuine. We may not be able to fully relate to Louise's narrative, but we can appreciate the image of a child running through a field. Young's imagery is fluid, unlike the choppy blockbuster cinematography that we are used to seeing in sci-fi. Because this is not actually a science fiction movie. This is a soap opera movie. I am guaranteeing you this. Arrival is a soap opera movie that has kept the science fiction in its background, and everybody thinks it's sci-fi. Ooh, no, it's not sci-fi. Most importantly, it feels like everything here is of one vision: cinematography, directing, acting, score, etc. Instead of the factory-produced blockbusters we have seen of late. So this guy says that all the other sci-fis are just factory-produced shit, and that's why Arrival should be better. But here's the thing: why do you give factory-produced bogus movies like Mad Max Fury Road and all of these Avengers films 90% plus? Why? You are calling this a non-factory produced, and you are giving it 90% plus. But why would you give the same to the factory produced crazy MCU films? It's just bonkers. Despite all of that, Arrival sags a bit in the middle, a point where it may lose some viewers for good. Of course, it did lose me at some place, but having said that, this is ambitious, accomplished filmmaking that deserves an audience. It's a film that forces viewers to reconsider that which makes us truly human. What makes us really human? And the impact of grief. Impact of grief on that timeline of existence. So there's a problem in this movie that I would say again. Interstellar also had that problem, and for that problem, it got a lot of flack from the critics. And that problem is grandfather paradox. Grandfather paradox is if you know the future, or if you go back in time and kill your grandfather, then you will never be born. So this is a wrong theory. It's called grandfather paradox. There's problem in this theory that how would you go back into history and kill your grandfather if you were never born? That's the problem, and that's the same thing that happens here. If this woman, Louise, she knows what her future holds, then there will be grandfather paradox here. There is some kind of loop created in this timeline, and that's the one problem that no critics, at least not the big critics, never saw that through. But there is somebody out there who saw it actually. It's from a dangerousminds.net. It says the linear time versus free will conundrum. Here he says, oh, but she does exist. I can hear someone cry. The alien said so, and here we get to the gaping hole of logic. The film tries to divert its audience from noticing anyone with any interest in sci-fi, actual sci-fi or fantasy, or really just any sort of a story with an aspect of time travel will know that knowledge of things yet to happen can have a huge effect on the world of that story. Like there's some part of the grandfather paradox in this theory for both good and bad. This is very simple. Back to the Future and Time Machine stuff. It ties into the multiverse theory, where life is a series of infinite choices, and there is a corresponding number of universes out there somewhere where each of our choices has been made differently. Yet somehow these ideas, which hinge on the concept of free will and being able to make different choices based on information you have been given do not apply to Arrival. So in Arrival, it is shown that the woman is going to always make the exact same choice again and again. The aliens show Adams her future child with Renner, who will die of cancer, yet there is precious little suggestion that Adams might decide not to have the child with Renner. It is simply a given that she will have the child with this man, and said child will die. Now he has heard that it is made, the Arrival movie has been made on a predeterminist point of view. That is, there is no such thing as free will. There is only one universal timeline. Everything has been already set in stone. But this guy, he doesn't admit it, not even for 1 second, because obviously people who have seen science fiction for some time, and in actual, not just science fiction, people have said again and again there are multiple universes possible, multiple timelines possible, and there is some kind of plate theory that every plate contains a different universe where something has gone differently. Not even for a second, because the film itself can't even stick to this straightforward basic logic that the future is not predetermined in the story is proven by the flash-forward sequence of Adams meeting the Chinese general at the future UN summit. In this scene, Adams has no memory of her previous world-saving conversation with the general, which, let's face it, would be quite odd, as it quite literally saved the world. This scene, where the vital information is fresh to Adams, squarely puts to rest a predeterminist reading of the film, as well as a linear time theory, as it plainly shows that events of the past have not happened in this particular future. So by this definition, Adams and Renner's future cancer trope child does not actually exist in hardcore concrete terms. It is merely one of a myriad of alternate futures avoidable if Adams chooses not to have a child, or chooses a different man to have a child with. So he kind of proves that the predeterminist theory is wrong about the movie, and the movie itself knows that the woman can make some choices, but still it creates this grandfather-father paradox, and nobody says anything about this film, at least not the bigger reviewers don't. And this guy in dangerousminds.net, he has clearly shown the problems of this theory. I will add the link to this site below, and this is it for today. I'll be back with more reviews, more cringe. If you would like this content, please like and subscribe, and we'll be back. Peace.